Oh, okay. All right. Welcome to our Sunday Dharma talk. And today, giving the introductory talk is Jerome Doherty. And Jerome began practicing with the Quantum School of Zen in Cambridge Zen Center in January of 2018. He took 5 presets at the Providence Zen Center in December of 2022. He's a former music teacher and school leader and works in school district administration in Boston. He lives with his wife, son, and dog in Mansfield, Massachusetts. And so he's going to give the introductory talk. And answering questions today will be Wonil Sunim, and he's the head Dharma teacher of the Providence Zen Center. He's been involved with American Zen since the late 80s, a resident of Providence Zen Center for several years. He's lived at the Dharma Zen Center in LA and Taegosa in the Mojave Desert before moving to Korea and becoming a monk. He recently completed training at Baekdamsa and is now a Bikkhu in the Chogye order. And he also just finished leading the 90-day retreat up at the monastery as the head Dharma teacher, and cook, and all these other jobs he had while he was doing that. So he's going to answer questions. And so it's a good thing that usually when somebody asks a question, if you're brave enough to get up and ask a question, usually there's 3 or 4 other people that have that same question. And that's a quote from Dave. So please ask questions. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. We were not predicting such a large crowd for today, so it's nice to see so many faces out on the cushions. My name's Jerome. I am going to talk a little bit about myself and then a little about my story and then a little bit about practice. I think the first part of my story is that I've always been curious. And I think that's one of the major things that led me here. I'm still a curious person. And I also grew up in a Roman Catholic family. And I became, as you heard in the intro, a musician and a music teacher. And that was really my way of relating to the world. It was through music and then ultimately teaching music. And then I decided along the way to sort of leave that behind and become a school administrator. I thought I could, quote unquote, make a difference. That idea is going to come back in the story, so about an idea of making a difference. But I along the way, I've also sort of realized I was kind of in this fog of awareness. And so this curiosity kind of noticed something's not right, and something's unclear. And at some point, I think, while I was a teacher, I had an experience of, does this make sense? And then I started asking that about everything. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? And so I had this question that I kept living with as a musician, as a teacher, ultimately as a school administrator, then as a husband and as a father. It's stuck around. The question is stuck around. And what that kind of meant for me was I had this desire to know why and to understand. And I think alongside that was this idea of helping. And I want to be a helpful person. I want to be useful to the world. So that's where the making a difference thing comes in. So I became a school administrator, an assistant principal first, then a school principal. And this is kind of a lesson in, sometimes we say suffering comes from not getting what you want, and sometimes suffering comes from getting what you want. I became a school principal, I got what I wanted, and then magically suffering appeared. And I kind of entered a world of chronic stress. as a school leader, if any of you are in the schools or are aware of what school leaders are facing, it's incredibly stressful work. I found that to be true for myself. And so in that chronic stress, I was able to find a way to ultimately move out of the principalship and start helping principals and coaching principals, which I found to be a little less stressful, but still has its own stress. I was still feeling the results of that stress, and so I started listening to relaxation videos on YouTube and like guided meditations. And around 2016, I went to my first meditation class at a yoga studio, and it was in a Vipassana. The teacher was from a Vipassana tradition, so it was the instruction was about calming the mind and getting insight. So I did that for a little while. I followed that style for a little while, and then I was still seeking the relaxation and the stress response reduction. So I kept watching YouTube videos, and I came across a Zen master from Berkeley named Zen Master Bon Sung, and he still teaches at the Empty Gate Zen Center in Berkeley, California. And he said something, and I honestly don't remember what he said, but it hit my mind in such a way that I could not. I started binge watching the videos from the Empty Gate Zen Center, and then I started searching wider for. Okay, he said he's part of the Quantum School, and I started looking for all the videos related to the Quantum School. And now, and this was 2016, 17. Now you can go down a rabbit hole, and you could not come up for probably years with all the videos that are online. And this teaching really hit me and really resonated with me. So I followed that all the way to Cambridge Zen Center, and I just said to myself, I've got to go and find a place to practice. I lived in Canton, Massachusetts at the time, which was roughly equidistant between Cambridge Zen Center and Providence Zen Center. So I worked in Boston, so I went to Cambridge, and immediately I felt like this was the right place. It just felt right. And I wrote that down, actually. I journaled that the night I came home from my first practice. It just felt right. And so I kept going, and I think it's important to remember to keep going, to keep coming back. If you get a little taste, if any of you is brand new to this place or this school, I would encourage you to don't let one taste be it for you. I would encourage you to come back and try again and return. Part of our practice is to return. Even when it gets hard, even when it's strange, even when it's bizarre, we return. And had I not returned, had I thought this is either too weird for me or too difficult for me, then I wouldn't be here. So I went down. I went up to Cambridge Zen Center. I had been practicing with them formally since 2018, and I decided in 2022 to take precepts, which is the 5 precepts in a ceremony here, actually. And my family moved closer to Providence Zen Center in 23, so now I come here more often, and this is my new Zen Center. I do consider the Cambridge Zen Center a home, but this is my new home. And the people here have been so welcoming, and I'm grateful for the Dharma friendships I'm making, and the conversation and just the practice and the support for practice that a place like this gives. So that's a little bit about me. And I want to talk a little bit more about practice because there's some, just a show of hands, how many of you are brand new to this place today? Brand new. Welcome. And I also want to welcome and thank all the monastics for being here today too. But it's yes, sir.
There's three.
There's 3 monastics. 1, 2, and
All the way back there.
okay. Are you a monastic as well?
No.
Oh, you have a question? I think we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait for questions till I'm done. But hold that question. And you're brand new to this
Yes.
place. Great. It's wonderful to see you. If you're not familiar with our overall forms of practice, we have a few that I've found really helpful. One of them is bowing. We call it bowing. It's full prostration, where you go from a standing position all the way to a kneeling position with your forehead touching the floor, and then back up. And that's one full prostration. And bowing is a practice. In our school, we do 108 of them. It takes about 13 minutes to get through 108 bows. And you come off a little shiny at the end. You get a little sweat going. It's a body practice, but it's a body-mind practice. And that's something that I found really, really helpful with understanding my body-mind and also my body karma. First time I did 108 bows in one shot, I could feel it for days. And so I say that, like, I saw my karma. I saw my body karma from that. But later on, and during the pandemic, I did 108 bows a day before work, because I was working remotely, and it was incredible to see how it helped my mind, how it helped actually with the stress of what we were going through at the time. And it was a really great activity for focusing the mind on something other than what was going on around in the world. There's also chanting in our school, and I mention this because as a music teacher and a musician, I thought, oh, great! I can chant, I can hang. It's very disorienting to chant at first. A lot of our chants are in Korean, and some of them, and most of them are unmetered. They don't follow a specific rhythm. And what I learned from that is, number one, you have to do it again and again and again to get it. And that means returning to the practice. And you have to be with the group. And so hearing the sound of the chanting and becoming one with the group, that's part of our practice. It's not so subtle the way I say it, but hear the sound, become one. If any of you's ever sung in a choir, you know what I'm talking about without me even saying anything about Zen. There's sitting practice, which we did this morning, which is, I think of it as watching your mind and what comes up. And then when it comes up, watching it go back out the door. So not holding on to those thoughts. I will admit that I was in my head a lot this morning, looking forward to sitting up here and talking to you all. And I had to just continually recognize, see that I've got a thought, nervousness or whatever, or planning what I'm going to say, and then remind myself or recognize I see it, and then let it go and come back to my question that I practice with, which is, what am I? What is this? So that practice of sitting is about watching what your mind does. That's how I perceive it. Watching what your mind does and then returning your mind back to center. And that this is a practice. This is something we do repeatedly over and over again. And so you return. You return back to center. And then we also have kongans, which in Japanese are called koans. These are stories that are intended to show you your thinking and show you where you get tripped up. I actually, until very recently, kind of thought of these as puzzles, looking to try to get the right answer and, score the point. But what I've very recently found is that the point of doing koan study is to see your mind and where you get caught up in things. And then you can work with that. And then you can do something with that. And hopefully what you do with that can be a benefit to others. So that's a little bit about the practices. And what I mention those four because I think what we do in our school is kind of a complete practice in that way. We come at this thing, this mind, from many different directions through many different practices. And all of them can help us not understand, not intellectually understand, but in a way understand it better. And then use that to help. So speaking of using that to help, we have some teaching phrases that we use in our school. I'll talk about two of them before I'm done. And one of them is it goes with this mind practice that we do. And it's to help us recognize and clarify our situation, our relationship to the situation, and our function in that situation. So we could say correct situation, correct relationship, correct function. And, a lot of times I want my idea of something to be the truth. And always, my idea of something is not the truth of something. The truth of something is just what it is. Any idea that we add to it, any words that we add to it, language, feelings, is not it. And so, when I feel like my idea of a thing is in conflict, or I can't understand why things are this way. And there's a lot of us feeling that way these days. I have to remember my idea of a thing isn't the thing. The world is the way it is. That's strangely reassuring because it doesn't give me an answer. It raises another question. But it's reassuring because it's closer to the truth. The truth of, and this goes to my curiosity and why are things the way they are. The truth is, it is the way it is. And knowing that and knowing my relationship to that, if I'm correct about that, I think I'm more likely to function in a way that helps in a given situation. And then we have another teaching phrase from our founding teacher, Zen Master Seung San, which is only go straight, don't know. And I think this is appropriate for the times we're living in, because we have to remember things are not what we think they are. So we shouldn't try to know what they are. but we can act by accepting that they are as they are. And then, with our idea of the thing cleared away, then we can maybe find a clear way to act that's hopefully helpful and beneficial. And only go straight, don't know, means don't add ideas to the situation. And if you don't know, if you don't understand, keep going. Don't give up. Try not to freak out. Do what you can to be helpful and keep your direction clear. And so one of the ways we do that, we wake up to what's happening around us, we see the truth as it is, and then we help this world. And I hope all of us can do that. So thank you for coming today.
Thanks, Jerome. I really enjoyed that talk. You kind of covered the whole practice thing. It's really nice. You know, this thing about holding on to your opinion, I've always secretly held a little energy there. You know, if I have something that I know is right and I tell somebody, then I can't wait till they figure out that I was right. But just recently, I think just like this year, I finally let go of that. And it was something really nice in my life. I can't believe I'm almost 60. It took so long for me to learn that, you know. Just to be open to whatever that answer is, and whether I'm right or not, doesn't matter to that person. Or, you know, it doesn't really mean anything. You just try. Try to understand what it is and give your wisdom, which is what I'm trying to do today. I hope I can answer some questions. If anybody has a question, there's a mic right there. You can just go up there and ask. I've got a couple of things to talk about too, if it's quiet.
Hi. This is a specific practice question. I tend to, in my meditation, use multiple techniques. Like sometimes I'll do a mantra, sometimes I'll do the what am I, don't know, and sometimes I'll just do pure awareness. And I want to know your opinion of that.
I've heard somebody talked about that recently, one of our teachers, and Bobby Rhodes. She was talking about that, Zen Master Sung Hyun. And she does that too, naturally. You know, if she's busy, then she'll start doing Kwansein Bosal or something, you know, like in your ordinary life when you're out doing things, some mantra, or if she's feeling compassion or something, or there's some situation that, you know, she needs to ruminate over, then maybe she does the gate gate or something. She kind of shifts, and she does it naturally. She doesn't even think about it anymore. But for me, I always just stuck with one, and that's what I heard in the beginning when I was training here back in the 90s. They would always say, you know, go to the teacher and find out what's suitable for you, and just stick with one technique. I think that's really the bone of it, is to find what it works for you and just stick with it, you know, and just over a long period of time, then it really teaches you. You know, you get really intimate with that training technique. Now I just use what am I. I was talking to our Korean Sunim back there, because that's really the training in Korea is the hwadu. It's just holding that question, what am I? But it's very hard to do for a beginner, because you can't really encompass it. You're not sincere about it, you know. It's something it takes time to really to flower in you and have that question, or just have that be your root. So most of us do other practices like mantra, and that's something, you know, that's the beauty of your practice life, is finding that thing that really works and going deeply into that. But if for you, maybe if you need 3 different ones, maybe that's right, I don't know.
Thank you.
But, you know, when you go for an interview, talk to the teacher about it, because there's a lot of different techniques, and there might be something they can help you with.
Thank you.
I find that if you're really practicing well, you don't really need a technique. Like, you're just already in the moment. I guess shikantaza, you know, the Japanese word of just awareness. You hear the sounds, you're just in the room, you're already in a state of meditation. I often talk about that with beginners, Like I remember talking to a woman at the hardware store the other day, I go there sometimes during the Chogye to get supplies, and we know each other. Her name's Angel. If you go to Ames over there, she's very sweet. And, she'll ask me now and then questions about meditation. And, how do you talk to somebody that's not even really a practitioner about meditation? But actually, all of us understand, You go for a walk in the forest, and it's a beautiful day, or on the beach or something, you have a quiet moment, fall in love, whatever, you have this deep experience, your mind is just completely absorbed in that experience. And that's meditation. Because you're already in that state. We know that very intimately, those experiences. It's part of our life. I think that's the way meditation developed. Really, it's just being compelled to go further and to understand that.
I have a question. I hope this is not offensive. How do you do this practice without being dull?
Without being dull?
I know you guys are humorous. I can see the humor sometimes. I love it. But there seems to be a sense of neutrality that you always have to have.
Yeah, that is part of it. Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
I understand your question. That's a good question. The Sunim back there was talking about equanimity. It's a big part of the practice world, this equanimity, of not having a strong emotions or whatever. But practice, if you practice a lot, if you do this over your life, there's so many different things that happen in your life. And if you take the time to respect yourself, really it's self-respect. Give yourself time to look at what's going on in your life, to review it, to bring your whole consciousness to bear on it, to not judge yourself, just to give yourself space and look at it. It's so interesting. It's fascinating. I've done so many retreats. I've never been bored in my life. Never. It's just, and it's not that I have an exciting life, but there's such a beautiful aspect to it to me. So I don't really understand. I think it's your mind isn't really opening up to that yet. If you're bored or it's dull, it's like something that you have to teach yourself how to relax and let that natural radiance just appear. So it might be good to take a walk in the forest on a beautiful day like today. Just be by yourself in a place that's already beautiful and it already has energy, and it'll kind of teach you. Like the trees out there have so much teaching for us. Just spend some time with the tree. That's what one teacher told me. And actually that's a very good teaching, because it's already quiet. They're so quiet. Just go sit under a tree for a while. And with the wind, that gentle wind out there in the forest. It's really beautiful. I have a teaching about that, if I don't have another question. It's something that happened, because I was raised in the forest in Louisiana, and really too far away from people for a young child to entertain himself. There wasn't an internet back then. So I would just roam the fields, and a lot of the fields out there were abandoned because, I don't know why. I guess they would just go fallow, or they would let them rest for a while, or they didn't have the money to develop fields. And it was after the logging kind of happened, they cut down all the trees, and there would just be open fields here and there. And you can't really go into the deep forest in Louisiana because you get devoured by insects. It's the subtropics. So any open field is a safe place for a child. And it became something to me, something personal. I think that's really my first experience of meditation. So I wrote something about this. I'm trying to explain what it means. The archetype of the field of weeds. I've always been attracted to abandoned fields where the natural force is won against someone's idea. No more clean lines and monotonous order. Instead, a swirling chaos of weeds and flowers, so beautifully arranged. A stand of trees, all the intersecting branches moving in the wind, the scattered light. There's some meaning beyond the simple fact that it exists. It conveys something of its origin, of the one. It became alive in me. I first noticed when I had to do the morning bell chant at Musangsa solo. That's our big temple in Korea. And there we have to do this bell chant in the morning. It's a long chant by ourselves. So it's kind of a challenge for people to even to memorize the melody and to do. Can you imagine doing that, Jerome? It's hard. And I'm not a singer, so it was hard for me. So I didn't have any natural ability, but I could do it, just not really well. Out of desperation, I recalled the sunlight through the trees, and I found my voice. It took a few years for me to understand this. My voice became the same as the sunlight through the trees. When I chanted from that place, it conveyed the same information. Then it slowly began to dawn on me that I should live this way. So the forest has so much there that can help you with your dullness. There's so much there. Just observe, just walk slowly and observe how everything is there for a reason, you know. Every flower, everything that's there, it's, you know, it's teaching you about your true self. Just the arrangement of things. The wind's blowing a certain way, the moss is on a certain side of the tree. There's a lot of wisdom there.
Can you explain, please, what is mind?
What is mind?
Yes.
What are you doing right now?
I'm asking a question from.
Yeah, right. So that's how we express that. That is mind. So moment by moment, whatever you experience is mind. I remember I had to explain this to some scientists that were visiting us in Korea. You can sit down. This will take a little while. And and the same thing, how do you communicate meditation to people that aren't really practitioners? And, you know, the one mind is a theme that we have, the one mind. How do you express that? I use the word thusness because one of our teachers, George Bowman, who's a Zen master now, used that with me early on, and it stuck in my mind because I don't really like the word and it's hard to understand this Christian concept, thusness. But at that time, it kind of made sense to me. Something happened about that teaching. So in this particular situation, right now, the floor has this particular state, right? That's thusness. It appears thus because of this particular arrangement of atoms and time, and the tree built this, you know, and we cut it and made it. So it appears thus, right? In this particular moment. That is the true self. That's the one. That's mind. It appears thus. We think God is somewhere else because that's what, you know, the myth is. But it's actually everything that we perceive, every thought that we have, everything that we see, by condition and properties of where it is. That's the science of it. So right now it appears as this gentleman here staring at me like I'm talking about God. Or, you know, it's not very complicated. So Zen, we try to just cut directly to that. We're trying to teach that concept of thusness. In this situation, and that's why we say in the moment, right? Right now, it appears thus. There it is. If you want to know mind, look at the floor. It's right there. Look at who's in front of you. It's not complicated.
I don't want to cut you off if you have more to say, though.
My outfit? The outfit, it's Korean.
Oh, no, I didn't, if you said it was going to take a while, so I didn't want to cut you off if you weren't finished.
I'm done. I can talk more, but there's no more.
Well, you were talking about God, and I felt moved to come ask a question because sometimes I feel like people can think that they are God, and if something is thus because I perceive it and it's inside of me, then I am God.
Right.
And I'm wondering what you think about like seeking something outside or being open to something else, or...
Well, there's a balance there, you know, because you are God, you know, in that sense of thusness. Everything and everything you encounter, every thought you have is God in the way that we look at it. But how can there be something else? You know, I think really the process is to let go of yourself, and then you have this bare experience, which is all-encompassing, of just this moment. But it is more than we're able to perceive. You know, when our senses are clouded. You know, when you have this strong sense of self, and you're not aware of like the feeling you get when you're in the forest or on the beach or whatever, or in love, or something like that really draws you out of yourself, and you're just experiencing something greater than your normal perception, right? It's there all the time. But our minds are so full of stuff that we're not able to perceive it. And we don't live in that. We live in a confused state, especially now. So much anxiety. There's so much pulling us from that natural experience. And that's what we want. You know, we want to be able to just reside in a peaceful state, or this brilliant, you know, mind state that's what the Buddha discovered. He said, this is available. Everyone has it, this awakened nature. It's there. We're just obscured. Anyway, that's the Buddhist idea. You know, I think the Christian idea too has that element in it. It just seems like they took a fork, but I'm not a scholar of Christianity, but to me, like the symbol, I know it's Easter too, right? He rose from the dead today. But there's something about the symbology of Christianity that I like now, because it matches to me with the process that from my personal journey, right? This figure of Christ on the cross is like, that is the renunciation of the self, right? He sacrificed himself to reach the kingdom of heaven. That's our journey, right? To let go of the self and become the true self. It's the teachings there. So to me, Easter is a wonderful day. But if you say there's some special thing, then you have a problem. There's a duality that we fall into of wanting something outside of ourselves. And the mind is so good at creating things. So if I say I am God, then automatically I've fallen from being a God. But I understand that sentiment. I mean, I think it's right. I think they're right. But you have to get rid of the self. You have to be selfless. And what he was talking about, that there's something about it. Like there's a thing about, and I wish I could remember exactly. Diane Eagles, one of our teachers, was talking about this. Somebody asked Seung San Sim about, the Zen Master Seung San, about enlightenment. And he said it was, if you want enlightenment, that means you're just going to help this world. That equals that. That's what that means. Is that what you want to do? Are you sure you want to do that with your life? Those two things are together, right? If you let go of the self, become the true self, that means you only take care of all beings. It's like you're the creative center. If you say you're God, that means I only care for all of life. Even the floor, I take care of the floor. Everything. That you change your relation to the universe. My opinion. You know, Taoyi talked about this a little bit. It's really interesting because, you know, we get burdened with all of, not only our weight, our karma, but other people's, you know, whoever, our family or people that we deal with at work. And there's so much that can cling to you. And it's hard to have that freedom, that beautiful mind that's our birthright. Taoyi says, when you try to stop motion to return to stillness, the stopping causes further commotion. As soon as you become aware of gradually conserving power in the midst of the afflictions of daily activities, this is where a person acquires power. This is how a person achieves Buddhahood and becomes an ancestral teacher. This is how a person changes hell into heaven. This is where a person sits in peace. This is where a person gets out of birth and death. This is where a person becomes sovereign above the ancient emperors. This is where a person raises the weary people from misery. This is where a person brings prosperity to his adopted descendants. So he's saying, like, to conserve, to find your center. Don't let that energy out, reside in that space. And that's our practice, really, is to make that center strong and start to operate from that place. Get to know that calm center. And don't just let your energy go to these things. That's how you become a Buddha, according to Taoyi. And he taught lay people a lot. That's a lay person teaching. So in your life, just be aware of that. Be aware of your losing energy to this. Don't hold your opinion. Maybe the other person is wrong, but that's fine. Let them be wrong. That's their choice. Don't put energy into these things. I've been doing that for a long time. I finally learned, it doesn't matter if I'm right or not. It doesn't matter. Just love that person. Oh, it's very quiet. Oh, we have one more. Looks like we have one more. Okay, 2 more. Online too, you can ask. I can't get to the quotes right now, but you can ask. The speakers are on in the room if you want to.
Good morning. Thank
Good morning.
you. Thank you for this
Yeah, good to see you.
opportunity. And, I wasn't really thinking about asking this question, but you brought up the concept of power. And I think that what you're talking about is different than what the, say, layperson would think of as power. Power in our culture is money, position,
Right.
title,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about a different concept of power, if I'm understanding this correctly, which is why I'm, I guess, up here asking. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah, but this is a translation of Taoyi's Dharma. And so I'm not sure that that's the right word, power. But to me it means to be in a place of joy. To be completely, like, enough mind. You're completely fine. Then you can operate cleanly with people. You're in a position where you're independent and strong and you don't need a lot from other people. Personal power, right? It's kind of like putting money in your bank, your center, and just making that very strong. Making that part of your life, Respect that of yourself, that you want to nourish this thing that you've made, this wonderful being that you are. And give it what it needs to be happy. Not clutter it with a bunch of things. Don't unburden it. Let it shine. And a lot of it is just interacting with other people too. It's not being in yourself so much. You find that your energy grows when you're with other people and doing things. Did that answer your question? You look like you have another question.
Well, so it strikes me that is a shockingly hard thing to do when someone has the opposite idea of power.
Oh, yeah, it's just a word, though. Don't,
Right.
And it's just, we're just talking right now. You have to do it, and then that's your own thing. That's your own experience and your own words. Really, you have to make it your own. So don't get too attached to the words. But that is a really good point, though. That it does matter, what you're doing with your energy. It does matter for your practice and for your happiness in your life. That you take care of that, and grow that.
Thank you.
It's already 11:30. I can have another question. Kwan Heng Soon, do you have?
So I'll ask a question, then I'll do announcements.
Okay.
After you answer, okay. I just had, Jerome was talking about returning, and so that's kind of is a thing that we do in practice, and so I was wondering if you could talk about this returning.
returning to the moment, like that practice.
And what meditating, all
Yeah,
those,
sure.
yeah.
That's really what a lot of people say is what meditation means. So that's when it becomes a practice. Is like you're aware that you're going away, your mind is drifting, and then you bring it back. That returning is really the act of meditation. And it has to be gentle. Like Tali said, when you try to stop motion to return to stillness, the stopping causes further commotion. So that is something that takes a while to learn. You have to understand that the mind is doing its job, right? It's constantly working. It's creating the fabric of your reality. When you sleep at night and dream, it's, you're digesting whatever or going through scenarios to help you with your life, right? And that's important because that you'll go crazy without that. That's your brain's function. But it's doing the same thing during the day too. It's constantly working and organizing and preparing you for the next thing or whatever. I mean, and to interfere with that is not the object of practice. You're not trying to stop your mind from thinking. You don't attach to it. You respect that. That process is supposed to be there. Maybe you organize things, you help it to be clean and operate efficiently. Because a lot of the processes that we have going on are junk. It's junk software, not made with wisdom, garnered from whoever from when we were growing up. It probably is a dead end if you look at it. So that's meditation too. It's looking at what is this stuff going on, Why am I doing this? A lot of it's repetitive too. We've already learned our lessons. We're not children anymore. So, yeah, returning is, you realize, okay, I don't need to play this reel. I see it. Okay, I've got it. Now, come back. That's meditation. But, it's still going on. And you have to balance that. You have to respect that process too, and not fight it, or it's just going to fight back. And over time, I think you have a wonderful relation with your small self. It's like your child. That's your creation. And there's nothing wrong with having a lot of thoughts. This probably means you're smart. I should go. I have to change the camera.
Thank you for appearing for our talks. And usually, as you know, Eva is up here doing these announcements. She's in Morocco right now. She's on vacation. She'll be back next week, I believe. And so the upcoming events is you have a YMJJ on May 3rd and 4th. I'm going to lead that YMJJ, so feel free to appear and practice with the group. And so that's for 2 days. You can come from one day, or you can do both days. And you need to register at providencezen.org. And we have several indoor-outdoor Sangha workdays scheduled, including May 10th and May 30th. Please go to the website and reserve a spot. And it isn't so much reserving a spot, but letting us know how many people are going to be here, because you'll have lunch and stuff like that. And then save the date for the art club, which would be April 27th. Followed by Art as Practice retreat on May 17th, and in a monthly thereafter they'll be having an art as a way of practice, and that's a new thing that we're doing now. So please check it out if you like art or you have some kind of art project that you're doing. Summit Kyochay registration is open, and so you can do 3 days. You have to do at least 3 days, or you can do the whole month if you like. And I believe there's going to be two entrances on that, twice a Wednesday. Yeah, Saturday morning and Wednesday. And so we have on Wednesday we have dinner, and then we have orientation at dinner at 5:30, orientation at 6:15, and then we have practice starting at 6:30, 2 sittings, and so it's really an evening that we can all kind of get together, and we do it fairly regular, every week in fact. So If you've been coming a while, consider becoming a member and leaving a donation. Half of our operating costs are covered by donations. If you're available to help as a volunteer, there's many different kinds of things you can volunteer for, everything from office work to washing dishes to working out in the garden. Garden season is coming, and Josh is going to be out there working in the garden. Also, you can have a plot. I think about for $20 or something like that. If you want to have a plot out here, you can.
20 to 100. It depends on what you want to contribute, but they're very cheap for the whole season, one payment. Any plots left. If you're interested in gardening.
Okay, good. And so then, so is the shop going to be open today? The gift shop? Does anybody know? The gift shop opening person is here. Okay, so we can check it out, and if it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. And so we're gonna have snacks out here in the lounge, and thank you for appearing. I hope to see you next week.